Amazon early holiday deals are here.
Let the holiday retail rush begin. We look at the impact a shorter shopping season could have on Hoosier businesses. Plus,
another business deal adding momentum at Spectron Rx in Indianapolis. We'll have the story in the business of health.
And regenerative farming, how it works and why it makes for healthier food. Inside Indiana Business is next.
From Indiana's business news leader, this is IBJ Media's Inside Indiana Business with Gerry Dick, presented by Elevate Ventures, Indiana University, and LiUNA.
Happy Thanksgiving weekend and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gerry Dick. Well, it is here, the annual buying frenzy, the traditional holiday shopping season kicking into high gear. From traditional shopping hubs like Keystone at the Crossing in Indianapolis to the charm of small town Indiana throughout the state, retailers are preparing for a period that for some can be make or break. National retail sales expected to increase between 2.5% to 3.5%, in line with performance over the course of the past 10 years, with most shoppers planning to buy online. Also, clothing, accessories considered the hottest gifts. When it comes to what fuels buying the Indiana economy, we're getting a rather optimistic outlook of what the future holds for manufacturing states like Indiana.
The American Midwest has cheaper property, plant, equipment, and has the know-how to make things. And we're going to make things in our country again over the next 10 years. So we would expect massive investments in the manufacturing base in Indiana. I think Indiana's statewide GDP is somewhere around 22 to 24% manufacturing base. This is a prime area that should see significant investment over the next 10 years. It'll be a tailwind for investment, for jobs, for consumer spending.
Meantime, Northwest Indiana, a region that has faced some challenges in recent years, seeing a population increase for the first time in more than a decade. The region attracting a new kind of worker.
Pretty broad sector of a lot of white collar jobs, law, accounting, architecture, engineering, design services, computer design, things like that, right? Stuff you need, some education, some skill, and they're generally high paying. And I think you're going to hear a lot about that because over the last few years, that is the sector of employment that we've had the strongest competitive advantage in of any sector here in Northwest Indiana. And so this is a very good sign, something we've been trying to push for a long time. Don't just bring in any jobs, bring in high paying, high skill, high education, desirable jobs that have the potential to replace the high paying manufacturing jobs that we've lost.
Indiana University Clinical Associate Professor of Business Economics and Public Policy, Phil Powell joins us now to break it all down. Phil, it's always great to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, you're kind of your top line takeaways heading into this important Christmas shopping season, if you will. A lot of indicators that the economy's good.
You know, there's a lot to celebrate right now.
Yeah.
If my business depends a lot on Christmas and the holidays, there's all sorts of reasons to be optimistic. There's no slowdown right now in consumer spending. Yep. Consumers are coming into the season very strong. And inflation is down around 2% right now. We've had a few years where that was a real worry, but as we go into this holiday season, inflation has been tamed.
And some positive news here in Indiana, as we were talking off camera a moment ago, wage growth and productivity growth, as you look at some of those numbers, positive.
You know, as we end this year, for the first time in a long time, the state of Indiana, our productivity, which leads to higher wages, is growing faster than the rest of the nation, and not just a little bit, but by almost a percentage point. So this gives the new General Assembly and the new governor, a lot of momentum as we go into the new year. As you look at, again, more at the macro level, and you talk about the prospect for tariffs. In fact, there was just some news out here in the last 24 hours. President-elect Trump and looking at Mexico and Canada, the impact of tariffs, especially on the manufacturing state. Tariffs is something markets are worried about right now because it can lead to inflation. It can increase our price of goods sold, especially in manufacturing, because a lot of our manufacturing plants here in Indiana import a lot from other countries. So this is what we're looking at on inflation. But if we see just targeted use of tariffs, it won't be as bad. The real worry is this going to be widespread and across all imports that come into the state?
Consumer confidence is so important when it comes to shopping and buying things, obviously. Again, as we were talking off camera, inflation coming down, beginning to track downward. But is from the psychology of the consumer, is it reaching everyone, or is it kind of an imbalance?
You know, this is why we feel worse our emotions are worse than it really is out there. We've come through a tough slog with inflation. I mean, prices for food, gas, energy, rents, they've all gone up. And so I think that's why people feel worse than what we see in the marketplace right now. But the data suggests, again, as we go into this holiday season, as we go into the new year, there's all signs of optimism in terms of the data.
So it sounds like a rather optimistic outlook near term, but also longer term, as we heard a moment ago here in Indianapolis, billions of dollars of investment looking to downtown Indianapolis, manufacturing sector perhaps positive. So a rather positive outlook?
A lot of great investment in the city, a lot of leadership from different civic organizations and from Indiana University and Purdue University. This is going to be a great year for Indianapolis to reset its economic pace, to really contribute a lot to the U.S. economy and be even more competitive than it has been in the past.
Your Associate Professor Phil Powell. Phil, great perspective, great to see you as well.
Thank you.
All right. Well, a little later in the show, how big-time retailers are trying to get your attention this holiday season. From Target creating magic down every aisle to Walmart adding a little Hollywood sizzle, we get perspective on the strategy behind getting you to buy. So we go down on the farm in Hancock County, where the name of the game is essentially clean farming. What it's all about when we come back. Well, another global giant in business with big project plans for what is becoming one of the fastest growing research districts in Indiana. Meta, the parent of Facebook, striking a tentative deal to build a massive data operations center in the Leap District in Lebanon. IBJ reporter Mickey Shuey reporting city leaders in Lebanon believe the investment could add up to nearly $4.5 billion and would likely be a 6-phase development over the next decade or longer.
Here's what's making news around Indiana. Brought to you by the Indiana Association of Realtors. Indiana's 21,000 realtors. The neighbors you know, the experts you can count on.
Well, high-tech and clean energy investments making headlines in Northwest Indiana. There are 3 emerging business stories coming out of the region with potential long-term implications. We begin in Maryville, where plans are in the works to build a massive data center. Karis Critical says the campus could total up to 9 buildings and represent a $900 million investment and 200 jobs. Just a few miles from Maryville in Lake County, Hammond-based Quantum Corridor has closed on a $10 million round, a Series A round of funding. Quantum is a high-speed fiber optic network that currently runs along a 14-mile route connecting data centers in downtown Chicago to Hammond. The new funding will be used to help fuel expansion that could ultimately extend to the Crane Naval Surface Warfare Center in southwest Indiana. And investing in clean energy coming into focus in the region. The BP Whiting Refinery, one of the Midwest sites under consideration for a new hydrogen hub. The federal government awarding $22 million to the Midwest Alliance for Clean Energy, which is based in Chicago and is evaluating 8 project locations in Indiana, Michigan, Iowa, and Illinois. After just over a year of construction, the Forge is now open in downtown Bloomington. The $13 million tech center development located in Bloomington's Trades District is designed as a hub for tech startups and co-working space for remote workers. Development of the Forge and the Trades District led by The Mill, a nonprofit business accelerator in Bloomington.
Oh, it's a fantastic building that's in a great location for tech companies that are in the innovation space that want access to a tremendous pipeline of talent, but also to be in close proximity to a number of other big innovation assets like Crane to the south and 16 Tech to the north.
The Forge is opening at just over 50% occupancy and hopes to build an ecosystem that will help keep talent and companies in Indiana. Well, as we head into the holiday travel season, Fort Wayne International Airport says it's on track for its best year ever. The airport says flights have increased by 22%, and October was a record year for outbound travelers. Early next year, the Gateway Lounge by Starbank will open at Fort Wayne International, providing upscale workspace, relaxation space as well for members, all part of the airport's terminal expansion and renovation project. Well, now on to Hancock County, where old cornfields and rich soil are playing a big role in producing healthier foods. Around Indiana, reporter Mary-Rachel Redman takes us to Tyner Pond Farm, an example of the growing farm-to-table movement in Indiana.
Well, Gary, it's a growing trend, and it's changing the way some Hoosiers are shopping for their food. More and more consumers bypassing traditional grocery store aisles in favor of their local farmers, like Chris Baggett of Tyner Farm in Greenfield, to buy everything from grass-fed beef to unpasteurized milk and more.
When you're eating nutrient-dense food, you eat less. Our bodies, and a lot of people talk about the obesity crisis as a nutrient starvation. Your body is so hungry for nutrients that it's just calling you to continually eat all the time. But when you eat nutrient-dense food, A, you spend a lot less money on groceries, and B, you're satiated. You're not going to eat so much.
Believe it or not, Indiana imports close to 90% of its food.
But the whole country imports most of our food now. Brazilian imports of beef are up 500% this year.
And Baggett believes the solution is in the soil.
Nutrition comes from the soil. So a question people need to be asking about all of their food is, what's the soil like where this was grown?
And for those of you who want to experience farm fresh food from Tyner Pond Farms, it's as easy as a click of a mouse.
So we have every cut of meat you can imagine: grass-fed beef, pasture-raised chickens, and pork, unpasteurized butter, unpasteurized cheese. And this small farm can now deliver for free as well.
It would appear farm fresh food is making a major comeback. Gary, back to you.
All right, Mary-Rachel, thank you. Chris Baggett, one of our state's great entrepreneurs indeed. Well, coming up next, the evolution of Indiana's nuclear medicine sector, the impact radiopharmaceuticals are having on the Indiana economy, and what it means for cancer patients in this week's Business of Health. Well, Indiana flexing its medical muscle in nuclear medicine, growing by leaps and bounds and making a big impact on cancer patients. A contract manufacturer in Indianapolis is riding the radiopharmaceutical wave in the Hoosier state. Spectron Rx has inked 5 new partnerships in just the last 3 months. Business of Health reporter Kylie Veleta now with that story.
Thanks, Gary. When radiopharmaceuticals leave this building, it's just enough liquid to cover the bottom of this vial. A tiny amount, but these new cancer treatments are having a big impact in Indiana.
We work with atoms, so no, you really can't see it.
Invisible to the naked eye, nuclear medicine is revolutionizing cancer treatment. Using radiation to fight cancer is nothing new, but traditionally, a beam passes through the body, which can damage healthy tissue near the cancer target. But radiopharmaceuticals are different because they go only to the tumor.
What happens is you'll take radioactivity, attach it to something that will drag the radioactivity to the tumor, and then the radioactivity is very precise. It's right at that tumor, and so it only destroys the cells at that tumor or near that tumor.
Spectron Rx is evidence of the rapid growth in Indiana's nuclear medicine sector. The contract manufacturer has grown from a staff of 6 in 2019 to now employing 175 at its Indianapolis operation.
What we provide, what our expertise is, that we can handle the radioactivity. We can attach the radioactivity to whatever molecule, protein, peptide, monoclonal antibody that they would like.
About 16 nuclear medicine companies call Indiana home, by far the largest concentration in any state.
The entire field's been exploding. There's been several billion-dollar deals that have been advertised. Lilly, I guess, is one here that we've talked about. Many of those deals were our customers. So my joke is I get pictures of a lot of boats now that people own that they didn't own before.
Making nuclear medicine is a race against the clock because the radioactive materials degrade quickly.
Those gloves allow us to work with the radioactivity without the radioactivity escaping the hood.
Each dose must reach the patient in just 3 to 5 days from the moment it's made. So Indiana's FedEx hub, the second largest in the world, is a major advantage. And Purdue University is home to the largest nuclear medicine pharmacy program in the nation. Already a $6 billion industry in the U.S., nuclear medicine is expected to more than triple in the next 7 years.
These drugs, we've been working on them a long time, and they're finally going to be offered widespread. We're doing 15, 20 patients, 30 patients. Now we can take it out to thousands of patients and really help people extend their lives.
Indiana showing its might in medicine's next frontier.
It's some great medicine, and we're excited to be part of it.
In 2025 is expected to be a big year for Spectron Rx, with dozens of life-saving drugs nearing approval. Gary, back to you.
Time now for our Eye on Education, brought to you by PNC Bank.
And we begin this week with a positive sign that training the next generation of construction workers is gaining traction in Indiana. Case in point, ABC Construction Prep Academy continuing to grow across the state. The academy gives high school juniors and seniors hands-on training to prepare them for careers in the construction trades. Last month, ABC's 5th location opened in Lebanon.
What our program is really designed to do is introduce the student to what a construction job site and atmosphere is going to look like. And it's not so much the mentality of I'm going to another school or I'm going to another class, I'm going to another training site. No, I'm showing up to work. And then training and learning is happening as they're working.
Nearly 500 students are currently in the program. Students are also able to earn credentials while participating. Well, Future Farmers of America launching a new initiative to bring more agricultural education opportunities to Indiana students. The Grow With Us initiative focuses on work-based learning, leadership development, and classroom participation. The FFA says the industry is changing and needs more than just farmers.
As the agriculture industry continues to grow and expand and advance, there is more and more of a need for those individuals with traditional and then also unique and new skills that maybe we might not have had in agriculture before.
The FFA says there continues to be high demand for skilled talent in the industry. There are chapters in 90 out of Indiana's 92 counties. Well, a big weekend in Bloomington where bragging rights for the Old Oaken Bucket are on the line. Indiana University football capping off a magical regular season this weekend against Purdue. IU's breakthrough season led to a big boom in tourism on campus and around Bloomington. Sold out games generating big bucks into the region. Roughly 56,000 more people buying tickets to watch, 75% coming from outside of Bloomington.
And that's a net 42,000 people that are coming inside the gates, right? And so, those people are spending, whatever the number is, $500, $700 for their weekend. And so if you just roughly did that at $500 a person, which seems reasonable, that's $21 million of just direct spending in Bloomington that would not have happened.
Now, IU will wait for where it's headed in the postseason. Well, up next, we come full circle from where we started with the show, with perspective on the strategy behind all those holiday ads you're seeing.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing.
Uplifting ad about a janitor with a passion for music to Walmart leaning into pop culture. We get perspective from a Central Indiana marketing expert on the strategy to get you to buy this holiday season. That's when we return. Well, it's time to get down to the business of the marketing strategies that advertisers are using to get you to spend during the holiday season. This is a look inside an Amazon fulfillment center here in Central Indiana. More than a dozen of these kinds of centers are located around the state. They'll be very busy over the next month. Big box stores are pulling out all the stops to get your attention and your business.
Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look.
Whether it's Target taking you down every magical aisle,
and to be seen is to be loved.
Thanks, Mom.
Give the gifts that show you get them. Welcome to your Walmart.
Or Walmart, making you feel good about gift giving.
What the world needs now.
Or Amazon, showcasing a janitor who can hit the high notes and then tugs on your heartstrings because he needs a tuxedo.
What the world needs now is love, sweet love.
There's a strategy behind all of it to get you to spend. Indianapolis-based Trendy Minds founder and board chair Trevor Yeager says it all boils down to this.
I think there's some nostalgia that people are trying to get at. You know, with holidays are happy and everything is great, and let's do that. But then also, let's not forget the everyday person. I think that's especially with the janitor side of things. It's like there is a lot of everyday work. I mean, there's a big dichotomy, I think, between like the white collar, blue collar. Retailers are looking at for like what's really big for the average American, not the top 1%.
Yeager also says the calendar is playing into how the holiday retail season could play out for retailers.
You have a lot of outside factors that are moving against them, whether it be a shortened season because Thanksgiving is later this year, whether it be the economy and the inflation still is there. There's still high prices or even the expectation of high prices.
Retailers not dwelling on what things cost, instead banking on your emotions to get you to spend. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Inside Indiana Business. Thanks for joining us. I'm Gerry Dick. We leave you with some holiday cheer from the Indianapolis Zoo. Go out and make it a successful week. Thank you for listening to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. Remember, you can get the latest business news from every corner of the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. I'm Gerry Dick. Go out and make it a successful week.